after some technical difficulties and some pretty big thunder storms, welcome to Agreeable Disagreements. It is a podcast where normally we debate topics from the week's politics, but this week we again are doing something a little different. And we're doing top 5 lists. Is that how you would describe it?
Lists. Yeah, this is actually a suggestion from my cousin Harrison. So Harrison, if you're listening, shout out to you. And we're also skipping the cold open because we recorded like 2 different ones, but because of said disabilities, not disabilities. What's the word?
Difficulties.
Because of said technological difficulties.
I mean, I think rightfully you and I both have a well-documented learning disability, so we could say disabilities.
Yeah, I would say that I mine has kicked in more and more as an adult lesson. But anyway, let's not get into that. Yeah, because of said technical difficulties, we have been trying to start recording for like 45 minutes. So we're just jumping in at this point. I'm tired of it. So this was, like I said, this was recommended or suggested by my cousin Harrison, who is an avid listener to the podcast. Avid, I say, meaning that he texts me in real time his reactions to mostly things that you say.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But anyway, we're doing our top 5. Andrew, why don't you choose the first category that you want to do top 5s for?
Let's do, I mean, you and I kind of met with the background of music. So let's do, you want to do bands or top 5 albums, which is more specific?
Wow, that is a hard choice. Let's do albums because I feel like bands, it's going to be, oh yeah, they listen to this, they listen to that. It's pretty standard for people to be like, oh yeah, top 5 bands. Let's do albums.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess albums kind of combines both questions.
Au contraire, one of my favorite albums is by a band that I rarely listen to.
That's fair. One of my top 5 albums is by a David Bowie album, and I don't really listen to that much David Bowie, but I think it's a perfect album.
Yeah. All right. So let's go at it. You want to start off then? You can talk about your David Bowie album or another one.
I mean, yeah, I guess I'll start off. So I think in the number 5 place, I would have, I'm going to say, oh God, I can't think of I'm going to say Banana Wind by Jimmy Buffett.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Why?
First of all, because it's a great album. It evokes just pure like summer laid back vibes. Jimmy Buffett is the kind of the soundtrack to my childhood. My dad was really into Jimmy Buffett when I was growing up. We even for listeners who don't know, I've sailed my entire life. And anyone who sails, or any self-respecting sailor loves Jimmy Buffett. And in fact,
self-respecting.
Yeah. In fact, one of our boats, we named Jollymon after a Jimmy Buffett song, which is not on Banana Wind. But whenever I hear that album, I immediately am taken back to, some of the, my best summer memories as a child.
Wow. Okay. All right. Okay. My first one, I think. Actually, no. Hold on. I'm going to question some of this. Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah. What's wrong with Jimmy Buffett?
It's so much of the same.
It's not. It's very much not.
And my mom and my aunt are gonna rip my eyes out the next time they see me for saying this, but I don't get how people like his voice. Oh no, wait, hold on. They're Barry Manilow fans. They also like Jimmy Buffett though. They talk about Jimmy Buffett. They're still gonna rip my eyes out when they hear me say this, but I don't get
Yeah,
it.
everyone over 40 loves Jimmy Buffett. That's besides the point. And I'm not talking Margaritaville. I'm not talking Cheeseburger in Paradise. I'm talking Last Mango in Paris. Or trying to think of another song. Delaney Talks to Statues. Schoolboy Heart. I'm talking the B-sides.
Wow, so not only are you like into a B-side artist, he's not actually a B-side artist. He's got a ton of top hits and awards and everything, but you like
Yeah,
the
but
B-sides
but
of a B-side artist.
so here's the thing. Jimmy Buffett's catalog is massive.
Oh yeah.
And he only when like I've gone to two concerts. The first one when I was 5 years old, which is a questionable parenting choice by my dad. Uh, but I a couple years ago I took him to a Jimmy Buffett concert to pay him back, and he only plays the hits. Um, but that's like 2% of what like of his music catalog. Um, so it's and a lot of the popular stuff does sound the same. It's very much boat rock, but his
That's
songs
fair.
that aren't boat rock are actually really really good.
So I just pulled up his Wikipedia page, and he's got 32 albums.
Yeah, studio albums. That's not
That is,
including I think
yeah,
his live albums, his
compilations or
compilations.
live. Yeah, that
Yeah,
is insane.
yeah. He I mean he
32.
was super prolific. Um,
Jeez,
I
and his most
legitimately
recent,
cried when he died last year.
well, and his most recent one was last year.
Was it really?
Yeah, Equal Strain on All Parts was released in November of 2012.
Is that a posthumous
He
release?
completed it before his death, so it was completed. He just never got to see it released.
Okay.
Okay, well, as much
And
as I
now my
don't like
roommate
that,
is taking a shower, so I apologize for any of that you're picking up.
I thought you were just pissing your pants, but now
No,
we
I
know that you have
mean
an excuse. You know.
I'm not. I didn't say that I wasn't pissing my pants, but what you're hearing right now is not that. I
Okay,
told them that I was recording.
so my first one that I'm going to say is going to be, I think, surprising. This is the one that's from a band that I don't listen to. You probably
Okay.
are going to hate me for not listening to this band, but it's Radiohead's OK Computer.
I actually am not a huge fan of Radiohead.
Okay, yeah,
I
I can't
like
stand most of their stuff.
Creep, which I think is on OK Computer.
I don't think so.
Is it?
I don't know. See, here's the thing. I don't listen to this album a lot, but I listened to it once because my uncle, who is a huge music fan, just in general, loves a ton of different wide range music. He was
Hold
saying,
on,
"Yeah,
you're
I like
cutting out.
Radiohead," and I was like, "Oh, I never got into it." And he said, "Listen to OK Computer, because even if you don't like Radiohead as an album, like none of the songs are terribly great as singles, but as an album, it's a really solid album." And I'll be honest, he was right. It's got it looks like the singles from it are Paranoid Android, Let Down, Karma Police, No Surprises, and Lucky. And
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
uh,
know none of those songs.
I know Karma Police, but the thing is, like, again, I don't listen to this album very often, but I do think it is a masterwork, just from beginning to end, straight through. It is just a perfectly made album.
Yeah. It's
And
a
I don't
it's
even like
a
Radiohead.
the sum of its parts is or what is the saying?
I don't know.
It's greater than the sum of its parts.
Let me Google it. Yeah, the
Or
whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're not a Radiohead fan, you will still probably like this album. It's not like their weird kind of stuff that they get into.
Right.
It's just a It's still a concept album. I don't think they don't do anything not concept albums, but it's just really well made. The production
Yeah,
value is really high. It's just a good album, you
I
know.
can get behind that. I think Radiohead for me, like I love uh, punk music and post punk,
Sure.
but I don't love grunge music. So I don't really like Nirvana. I don't really
Mm,
like
mm.
Pearl Jam. I know that's hard to hear, but I kind of just I don't know. I It's not for me. I
Yeah,
can respect it, and I can definitely appreciate that other people like it, but it never really grabbed me. I'm
that's like
sorry. I think my next one is gonna have to be ooh, uh, I think my next one is gonna have to be "Closing Time" by Tom Waits, which is Tom Waits' first album,
hold on.
not the "Closing Time" song. It as
Yeah,
that's not Tom Waits.
that's Semisonic. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know who this is.
you would.
And now I'm
So
looking at his face and I don't know who he is.
Tom Waits is an interesting artist because either you know him and absolutely love him, or you've never heard of him and would hate if anyone, like any song that anyone plays for you by him. Uh, but I mean, like he's like a musician's musician. And he's been super prolific. You've probably heard songs by him that you don't even remember, but he's made some really, really terrible music, and he's made some really, really good music. And
Hmm.
Closing Time is his first album, and it's before like you listen to like just any Tom Waits other than this album later, and he has like this really gravelly voice, and it's just really strange. But this album was kind of before he was doing that, and it was more like just kind of folk, like late night at a dive bar, just one guy in the corner singing songs. And it's a really really great album. It's got a lot of different styles of songs, but it's one of few albums that I think is a perfect album.
So while you were saying all that, I skimmed through the song "I Hope That I Don't Fall in Love with You,"
Yeah,
and I gotta say, late night dive bar is a great way to describe it.
yeah. Is that on that album, or is that
It
on
is. It is
his
on
second?
Closing Time.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So that's a really good example of a song of like the style of what his first album is. The other one I really like from that album is Old Shoes, I think is what it's called.
Okay, and picture postcards. I
Yeah,
got the track list pulled up.
yeah. So that, and then Rosie is a great song.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a stance right now and say it's not for me.
Yeah, probably.
I
Hold
like a
on.
lot more like
I'm gonna take a break here and ask my roommates to stop yelling.
sounds good.
All right,
You go do
thanks.
that and I'll keep them entertained.
Okay.
Yeah. I do not like that music at all. Just gonna say it. Gonna come right out and say it. I think it is hipster music from the 70s and 80s. Before hipsters existed, there was Tom Waits. That is my first impression of listening to a couple of these songs. I don't get it. I don't know that I'm ever gonna get it. I don't get why people don't like songs that don't have hard hitting drums in every single one.
Sorry, I know it's annoying.
I just don't get it. But
Yeah,
it is what it is.
you're pretty loud,
To each
Robbie.
his own. I don't know what he's saying out there, and I'm running out of stuff to say. Oh, sounds like he's coming back. Hold on. And that's when Andrew's naked butt was shown all across the school.
Wait, which time?
The third time.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. No, that was the first two times are understandable. That third time, though,
It was
that's
just cruel. It was
that
just
one was on
cruel.
me. Also, that was my roommate from like 3 rooms away.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my next one I think is one that you're gonna agree with.
Okay.
It's Coldplay's "Viva La Vida."
That's a great album.
It is a
Wait,
solid album.
isn't that isn't that album called like Freedom and all of her friends, or Liberty and all of her friends?
Death and all of
Death.
his friends.
Death and all his friends. I know that it has the painting, I forget who the artist is, but like the cover
Yeah,
is
it's the French
I
Revolution.
think
Lady
Liberty
Liberty.
leading, yeah. Uh which is one of my favorite paintings.
Fun fact: when I was in college, one of my roommates, and I love this guy to death. I want to say this outright. One of my most eccentric friends, definitely my most eccentric roommate. His name was William Walter Arnett III, and he always introduced
That's a
himself.
great name.
It is, and he always introduced himself by his full name. It was never "Hi, I'm Will." It was, and he was a theater guy too, so it was always "Hi, I'm
Yeah,
William Walter Arnett
that
III.
goes
Pleasure
without
to meet you."
saying.
Anyway, I love Will to this day.
I'm sorry, you love who?
Will. Um,
No, that's not his name.
oh, I love William Walter Arnett III.
Thank you.
But there was this one time, and it didn't make me mad or frustrated or anything. It was just like, okay, this is how it is now. But I, I left my house, the house that we were living in that day,
Mhm.
and we shared the room. And I went to college. Everything was normal. Our room was a mess. And I come back, and our room is a mess still. But he has gotten a full wall height printing of Lady Liberty leading the people, the same painting that is the cover of Viva La Vida, and he's just hung it up on the entirety of the wall.
Did he purchase this, or
He
did
did.
he like go to Kinko's and have them printed out for
I'm
him?
pretty sure it was an Amazon buy. I
Okay.
honestly don't know. All I know is that I come home one night and I'm like, is that something on the wall? Whatever. It's 11:30. I got to get up in the morning, and I go to sleep. And then I wake up at 7 in the morning. I'm like, why are there boobs on my wall? This is a BYU.
Look, it's art.
Yeah. It was just not what I expected.
I had a similar wall hanging when I was a freshman in the dorms, except it was Kate Upton,
Wow.
which
Classy.
is not, yeah, not the same. Still boobs, but different context.
Anyway, I really like Viva La Vida. I think it's a great album. The head single is probably their biggest hit to this day, which is Viva La Vida. But
I would say Clocks, maybe from Rush of Blood to the Head.
well, let's see.
Um,
It is, you know what? I'm looking at if we're determining it by most amount of streams, then their biggest hit, according to Spotify, would be Something Just Like This, and
that's
then it would be Yellow.
we're not going to count that because that's after they sold out.
Eh, and I still like it. And then after that would be Yellow, and then it
Oh
would be
yeah,
Viva La
okay,
Vida.
all right.
Clocks isn't even in their top 10 most streamed.
Well, yeah, but that's I feel like Clocks was the song that like put them on the map.
That's fair.
Like
Yeah.
Clocks was
Actually,
everywhere.
no, because Clocks came out after Yellow.
Oh,
Parachutes
that
is what
yeah,
has
that's right.
Yellow on it. It's on 2000, and then Rush of Blood to the Head is 2002.
Yeah, all right, that's fair.
I'm not trying to like be like you're wrong. I know my Coldplay because I don't. I have it pulled up here on Spotify. Um,
I know Coldplay circa pre 2010. I
so
think after
up until
2010 is
Viva La
when I
Vida.
yeah until like Viva La Vida was the last album that I really paid attention to, because after that
Yeah.
it was just way too commercial.
Eh,
Although I think was Fix You on the same
Fix You was on
album.
XY.
Oh, okay, that's their album after Viva La Vida.
No, it's the one before. I think that's
Oh, okay.
that one. That's the same one that has Speed of Sound on it.
Is it?
I think so.
Well, either way, I think Fix You is their best song.
It is a great song. It's probably my favorite song by them too.
Yeah.
I would say my favorite song on the album Viva La Vida though is uh, either it's a tie between Lost and Violet Hill.
Yeah. Lost is pretty good. I wasn't a huge fan of Violet Hill. Maybe I need to give that another listen though. Yeah.
That's what I play, so I have to like it.
That's fair.
All right, what's your next one?
All right, my next one. Oh God, I really have to. I feel like I was obligated to put Jimmy Buffett. Oh no, did I mess up my list? Because now I'm thinking of
We
so many
don't
other
have to be
albums.
in order. It can just be a collection of five. It doesn't have to be in
Well,
order.
yeah, but just the limitation of having five. I'm gonna say, oh God. I mean, I'm all right. I can't not include this one, but I'm not gonna list it in my five. So honorable mention is "Goodbye Yellow Brick Road" by Elton John. If everyone knows that's a masterpiece of an album, we don't need to discuss it.
Okay, because I would
Um,
disagree, but keep going.
okay, you're wrong. Hold on. All right, now my number three is "Goodbye Yellow Brick Road" by Elton John. What what could you possibly have to say negatively about?
I'm just picky about my Elton John in general. Like, I like
Okay,
Benny and the Jets. I like
that's on a
Goodbye
Honky
Yellow
Cat.
Brick Road. That is all I like. Saturday Night's all right. Um, Everything else on that
Wait,
album
is Benny and
doesn't
the
really do
Jets
it
on
for me.
"Goodbye Yellow Brick Road"?
Benny and the Jets is on there. So is Candle in the Wind. And I'll be honest with you, those songs
Oh
just kind of
yeah,
annoy me. They just annoy me.
that's you know what? That's fair. You know what? Maybe Honky Chateau might be my. No, you know what? It's moving back to honorable mention. Uh, uh, yeah, Honky
All right,
Chateau
keep going. Keep going.
might be a better Elton John album. All right. So for number three, I'm gonna say, and you're not gonna know this artist, Jack Garrett. His second album, "Love, Death, and Dancing," and I will give you some background onto why, as to why I really love that album. So Jack Garrett is kind of a. It's hard to pin his genre, but the way I would describe it is like singer songwriter meets electro pop meets like blues, like Stevie Ray Vaughan blues. Um, and I really loved his first album, Phase, and then like right at the beginning of COVID, after 4 years. Oh well, I guess I should say after he released his first album, he won a bunch of awards. He won the uh, BBC Critics' Choice Award and the Brit Award for Upcoming Artists, which other artists who have won both of those awards in the same year have been people like Sam Smith, Adele, Ellie Goulding, James Bay, uh, Rag and Bone Man, like people who went on to become big artists. But he kind of, after like 2016, when he won those awards, kind of went away. And then fast forward 4 years later, he suddenly releases his second album right in the middle of COVID. And I joined a Discord group he also joined that group. And basically my entire 2020 was spent just kind of hanging out online with these people who love this artist that I also loved. We and it's like half of us were in the U.S., half of us were in the U.K. But was it 4 years later? I still talk to them every day, and in fact, that's how I met my friend Andre, who wrote our theme song.
Oh,
He was the
cool.
front man for Halcyon Club, and he wrote "This Life Is Tough But Fair." Um,
Huh. That's how it all
so
connects.
yeah,
So
so it's more
now I
about
can't
the
nitpick this
experience of
album.
it. What?
Now I can't nitpick this album.
Well, you can,
Okay,
because
I'm going to.
he's in the process of writing a third album, and I'm really worried because the music he's made in the last 2 years has been questionable.
Hmm,
It's been a little too much like house, like club music, basically.
sure.
But some of the songs that he's kind of teased at that are going to be on this third album, I'm actually a little optimistic about, but we'll see.
Okay, so here's my issues with this album: Love, Death, and Dancing. Right? That's the one.
Sure.
Okay, I don't get it. I mean, like, so I skimmed through a couple of these songs. I get
Yeah.
why it's popular. They sound great. The songs sound really hit poppy. Like, it's a good
Are you
mix
listening to
of.
it right now?
I've been popping around a couple of songs on the album.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I'll be honest, first impressions, I could get into it. I like it. Sounds good. I get why you would like this. This sounds like
Yeah.
some cool stuff. Here's my problem. There's 4 discs in the album.
No.
Well, okay, well, Spotify is splitting them up by disc 1, disc 2, disc 3, disc 4.
No, so okay, so what that is he released the album in batches. So like
Gotcha.
February of 2020 he released I think Time, Mara, and
Return them to the one
yeah,
or
Return
something
Them to the One.
if they're organized by the same. Okay, so that
Yeah.
makes more sense because I was going to be like, all right, you know what? That's kind of weird that there's only 3 tracks on each disc, but that makes more sense. My other thing was going
Yeah.
to be like, okay, if the album is called Love, Death, and Dancing, I could see you having a disc called Love, one called Death, one called Dancing. But there's 4 discs, so which one's which? And what's the
Yeah.
fourth one?
No, so that's not at all what it is. He just for whatever reason, because of COVID, because of artistic choices, he decided to release them kind of in batches.
Sure.
Some of the songs are songs that I don't care for, but overall, the album as a whole I really like, and he also, in tandem with the release of the full album, which came out June 12th, 2020, um, he created like cohesive, like he created music videos for
Hmm.
some of the songs on the album, but all of them can be played back to back, and you can go onto YouTube and watch the full thing. They can be played back to back, and it's a cohesive, like really long music video. And then after that, like shortly after he released this album in June, um, he starts coming on to the Discord and like
Wow.
actually interacting with us. And there were about 400 people in total that were part of the Discord, but there was maybe 20 of us that were there regularly, and so we actually kind of got to know him a little bit. We would do video chats, and then he suddenly went through a divorce,
Oof.
and he kind of went to the Discord chat as a distraction. So like by October of that year, several times throughout the week, like there was like a core group of us, including pretty much most of the people that I, am still friends with and talk to every day. So there was, us and then him, and we would like do the thing where you start watching like a movie on Netflix and all sync to the
Oh
same
yeah, yeah.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would just watch like scary movies during the whole month of October. And it was cool, like, to kind of get to like hang out with your idol,
Yeah,
and kind of interact with him in that way. It eventually all kind of went south, but for the time being, it was a really fun experience, and it was like the highlight of um, my COVID lockdown period.
that sounds really awesome, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next one I think is going to be on the nose for me.
Okay.
Um, you're going to be like, okay, yeah, I get it.
Journey.
No.
Oh.
Ooh, do I need to change a little bit of my list? No. Oh, boy. Well, I'm not taking this one off my list for sure. This is my favorite album of all time, and it is Green
Okay.
Day's American Idiot album.
Okay. Yeah. That's a great album,
It is a
honestly.
solid album, just like on its own as a rock album. It's got a cool story to it too, like how they actually came up with it, even if
Yeah.
it's not true. So the idea is that they were recording an album called Cigarettes and Valentines, which was a mixture of like originals and covers of, or sorry, filthy covers, dirty covers of like Christmas songs and stuff. Um,
Oh, interesting.
and they were
Is that
like,
how the song "Holiday" like came about? Because that's on that album, right?
"Ooh, it is on the American Idiot album." I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know, but
Okay.
I'm gonna say probably not, just because the story goes that the tapes were stolen from the studio, and I don't know how much I believe that, because in the 20 years since then, someone would have leaked those tapes.
Yeah, somebody would have sold them
Yeah.
at Sotheby's or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. However, regardless, it makes for a good story. It gets some more hype, and the true part of it is they were working on an album, they scrapped all of it, and then
Yeah.
they, in the space of like a month, recorded the entire American Idiot album, and it is all purely inspired by how much they hated George W. Bush.
Yeah. That I mean,
With the exception
that's
of with the
what's
exception
the
of
first line to Letter Bomb? Where have all the riots gone?
and yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a great song. That's a great line. That kind of speaks to that like thing that I like about punk and then post punk. Um, that I think Green Day is a really good kind of continuation of like the punk scene,
Yeah.
uh, much more than like the grunge
Sure.
artists.
And what I just really like, it's clearly a lot of anger, but it's also a lot of dealing with anger.
Yeah,
And I don't have anger issues, but when I do get frustrated, it's great to just turn on some Green Day and just relax, you know.
yeah,
But also, as someone who is fairly libertarian, I can really get behind the whole the government's not, out there for your best interest kind of message that they have a lot of, especially on this album.
yeah.
Um, by the way, the first lyrics to Letter Bomb, because I know that on the off chance that someone comes in and hears this, is not "Where have all the riots gone." That is the first line of the second stanza. The first
Oh,
line
okay.
is "Where have all the bastards gone?"
Oh, that's right.
But
The is "Where have all the bastards gone?"
the
Oh
underbelly
God, what's the
stacks up 10 high. The dummy failed to
right?
crash
Dummy
test,
failed to crash test,
collecting
collecting unemployment
employment
checks.
checks like a flunky
A
along for the ride.
flunky just along for the ride, and
Yeah,
then it's "Where have all the riots gone?"
yeah. Oh, it's just such a good album, like on its own. And you've got the single "American Idiot," um, but
The worst
I
song on that album.
I would say the worst song on the album is "Homecoming."
Oh, I don't know if I know that one.
Yeah, see, that's the reason it's the worst song on that album.
Okay, that's fair.
um,
Was Jesus of Suburbia on that one?
yes, that is the
Okay,
second one.
that's a great song.
It's a great song. I think the best one is "Boulevard of Broken Dreams."
I think maybe I just think that one's overplayed.
It definitely is overplayed. It
It's not a
definitely
bad
is.
song. It's just overplayed.
But that doesn't mean that it's not a great song on the album. Like
That's
I
fair.
love the just the way the chorus hits when they come in with just this big crash of everything. It's great.
Sure.
It's
All right.
great. I would also say if you don't listen to a lot of Green Day, um, Saint Jimmy is a great song to pick up with. Jesus of Suburbia is like Green Day's version of, wow, I look really dumb right now. It's Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody. It's very
Is it?
much like, I mean, not intentionally. I don't know if they set out to do their own Bohemian Rhapsody, but it's in the sense that it is their long. It's a 9 minute song. It's got a lot of different styles in it.
Okay.
It's yeah, it's kind of like I would compare it to Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay. Interesting.
All right, we're at like almost 40 minutes if you don't include the stuff that we're going to cut out. Why don't you go on to your next one? Maybe we'll just get through two.
Yeah. Well, interesting. You should bring up Bohemian Rhapsody because I think that this would actually probably be my number one favorite album. Uh, but why don't we just do four? And
Yeah, let's
so
do four for this one, and
this
we'll
will
move
be
on.
my favorite album. The other one I was gonna add is Ziggy Stardust and Spiders from Mars. It's a perfect
That's a
album,
good
front to
album.
back.
Yeah.
Bowie's best album. There's nothing that anyone can say that could ever change my mind about that. My absolute all time favorite album is Night at the Opera by
That is a
Queen,
great album.
which has Bohemian Rhapsody. It's got
It's got I'm in love with my car, doesn't it?
yeah, it's got I'm in love with my car. I think it has 39, which is my
Yep.
favorite song by Queen, which is about a spaceman who travels close enough to the speed of light that like he ages a year, but when he comes back to Earth, 100 years have passed,
Yeah.
which speaks to Brian May, the guitarist for Queen, who is a doctor in astrophysics.
Yeah.
And it's not only is it a great song, it's like the science behind it is totally accurate and really cool. Um, it's just a great album.
It's I mean, Queen in general is hard to beat, you know.
Yeah,
Like
they've
they're
been my
one of the
favorite band since
greats.
I was 8 years old.
Yeah. I when you think of like the bands, and we're not talking single artists, so I'm not going to put like Elton John, I'm not going to put Michael Jackson in there, but when you think of like the bands, a full group of people, it's hard to get past the Beatles, Queen, Led Zeppelin. I feel like those are the big
Yeah.
three legendaries, you know.
Well, but then also, I mean, there's the Who.
The Who are great. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they're the same level as Queen and Led Zeppelin.
Really?
Yeah,
I think they are.
I would put them like the next stage underneath.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I would say that the Who might even be more influential than Queen.
no, I'm not going to let you say that. That is
All right.
wrong.
Well, that's fair. I'm swinging a miss. All right. What's your last album?
My last album. So my honorable mention is going to be Abbey Road. I feel like Abbey Road is just a solid Beatles album through and through. But what
Yeah.
I would say is probably
I'm more of a White Album guy, but sure.
hey,
Actually, no. I'm more of a Revolver guy.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. But I would say if I were to pick one album that I would say is the best album ever made and released. So it's not my favorite. It's definitely in my top 5, but it's the best album ever made. I would say is Thriller by Michael Jackson.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
I mean, you look at the songs on there, I think every single one or close to every single one of them was a single. And it was a hit single.
I got to look up what the track list is.
So you got Wanna Be Starting Something. You got
Okay.
Baby Be Mine. The Girl Is Mine,
Okay.
which is with Paul McCartney. You got Thriller, Beat It,
Was that really
Billie
with Paul
Jean.
McCartney?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You got Billie Jean. You got Human Nature, PYT,
Great song.
The Lady in My Life, And yeah, those are the big nine. I mean, there's a few. I'm looking at the deluxe edition, so it's got a bunch of like extras on it, but like every single one of those was a huge hit.
Yeah,
And I
great
don't think I can
album.
think of another album that has every track is a not just a great sounding banger, but was as commercially successful individually.
Yeah, that's fair. I last September I went to New York with my Irish roommate, and we wanted to see a Broadway play, and there were a bunch of great plays to choose from, but we ended up um, picking the Michael Jackson musical,
Ooh.
which uh, conveniently like spanned his life from like the start of the Jackson Five to right before, I think it was the Dangerous tour, which I think was right after he released Thriller,
Okay.
and also like right before the first allegations of sexual abuse. Um,
Mm.
but the music was great. It was all of the like all of his best songs, and it was a really great like the musical. If you don't think too much about if you separate the artist from the artistry, it was a great musical, and I think a lot of that hinged on kind of just the success and the publicity around Thriller at the time.
Jeez, that sounds like a really cool musical. I might have to
It
look
was
into that.
great.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it was so it like it starts with them it's kind of told in three parts and it kind of jumps around, but basically like the beginning it starts with they're preparing for the Dangerous tour, which I think is the tour where he got lit on fire,
Hmm.
but it was
Okay.
definitely like a big tour for him. Then it jumps back to like the Jackson Five when he was a real little kid, and then in the middle part, it kind of jumps to that portion where he leaves the Jackson Five and starts working with Quincy Jones.
Hmm.
And so, like the entire story is kind of told in three parts, and it was great. The actors, I mean, every single one of them that was playing Michael at all three ages looked exactly like him. The kid that was playing like him when he was like 9 years old was the most phenomenal singer I've ever heard.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Anyway, okay, let's do another. I think we got time for at least one more. Do you want to do
yeah.
travel destinations, superheroes, or movies?
Let's do superheroes.
Superheroes. Okay.
Or
All
actually,
right.
I guess it's your turn to pick. So
Well, that's why I narrowed it down to those three because we got like six more categories that we could choose from, and so I got it down to
yeah,
three. All right, superheroes. I'm gonna come out strong. Martian Manhunter.
I have no idea who that is.
Oh, did you ever watch the Justice League cartoon?
No,
Oh my
no, not
gosh.
really.
Okay,
Also, I'm kind of a Marvel guy.
so am I. But okay, Martian Manhunter is a Martian. He's like the last of his kind. He can shapeshift. He can go through walls. He's basically a nerfed version of Superman, and instead of kryptonite, his weakness is fire.
Okay, interesting.
And he can shapeshift and go through walls, which Superman cannot do.
Why fire?
It's got to do with his alien race, and yeah, I'll be honest. I even though
Okay,
he's in my top five as a concept, not because I know a whole lot about him,
okay, that's
but just
fair.
because I liked watching him in the Justice League cartoon. They teased at him in the Justice League movie Snyder Cut. They completely cut him out of the theatrical release, but
Yeah,
you know, it's he's a really cool character. His name is actually John Johns with like 2 or 3 Z's in there,
Classic.
right? So, golden age of comic book names. But yeah, no, if you don't, you should look up Martian Manhunter. He's pretty sick, pretty sick. And
Okay.
he's not
I'm
even a
kind
DC.
of
He's like in the original Justice League, man.
yeah, but I mean, I feel like maybe you're not doing a great job of selling it to me.
Okay, hold on. Let me pull up. Yeah, he's in the original Justice League. Okay, I'm going to look up Martian Manhunter's powers. Okay, and you can tell
Okay.
me. Okay, first of all, super strength, almost invulnerable, super speed, flight, regeneration, shape shifting, intangibility, invisibility, telepathy, telekinesis,
That
and
seems
heat
like too
vision.
much.
Oh, okay, and Superman's not?
No, Superman is a bullshit superhero.
Okay, thank you. I agree with that. Um,
Like it's so. Can we talk about Superman real quick?
sure, talk about Superman real quick.
Superman is invulnerable to everything except for this one specific thing. I don't like mushrooms. It's really easy for me to not to like avoid eating mushrooms.
Right. And mushrooms are very
Just
commonplace.
yes, much more common than kryptonite.
Right. And kryptonite is supposed to be super rare, but you know who always seems to have it? Just the
Zod.
right people.
Yeah.
Lex
Also,
Luthor.
there's a weird thing with like pink kryptonite, which canonically, like the effect that it has on Superman just makes him gay, which is a weird narrative choice.
And then there's gold
But
kryptonite, which will like kill him instantly.
is that a thing?
I think so, because I think I remember reading about how in one storyline he walks into a room of golden kryptonite to commit suicide after realizing that he's done all these terrible things. It's like one of
Yeah.
those storylines where he becomes a dictator.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, all right, so Martian Manhunter for all those reasons. I would
Okay.
also say Nightcrawler from the X-Men.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
This one's going to be controversial, but Magneto,
Okay. Why would that be controversial?
because he's only kind of a hero. He's an anti-hero villain.
He has nuance though.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I like him. Spider-Man, either
Spider
him,
Man's great. Yeah.
and this, you might hate me for this one.
Wait, which Spider Man?
I like Peter Parker Spider-Man, but Miles Morales
Okay.
is really solid.
I mean I like the Peter Parker Spider Man.
My number one, I would say the other four are pretty much a tie, but my number one, by far, and this is not a joke, is Aquaman.
God, oh no.
Yeah, Aquaman. And I liked it before Jason Momoa did an amazing job representing him on screen.
Yeah. That's actually more what I have a problem with is that you liked him before the Jason Momoa. His power is he can talk to fish.
No, he can't. He can't talk to fish. He has telepathy and he can will them to do what he wants, like Professor X.
Okay. But then why can he talk to dolphins?
Because dolphins,
Or
even.
not fish?
Okay, but they are marine creatures. And again, he has telepathy that works on not just sea creatures. The telepathy
Okay.
can work on other people too. And since
Then why does he
dolphins,
only exclusively use that with sea creatures?
he doesn't.
Then why is he Aquaman? Why is he limiting himself?
Okay. He's limiting
If
himself.
he has telepathy like Dr. X, why is he not Dr. X?
Okay, because and Professor X.
Sorry, Professor X. I'm sorry, Patrick Stewart. I didn't mean it.
It's because he is an Atlantean first and foremost. And to be clear,
Sure.
the telepathy was limited to marine creatures up until the New 52. However, it is usually, even in the New 52, it's almost always used just for sea creatures, but it can
Okay.
touch with, interact with anything that is sentient. The reason he's limited to the
Again, why is he limiting himself?
because he's an Atlantean, okay? Because he is of the ocean. He is from the ocean. He is an ocean dweller, right? That's like saying Why does Radagast only work with forest creatures, right? Because that's all he's around all the time, you know? That's what he knows the best.
All right. Possibly.
You mean possumly, because it's Radagast.
That's not
That was
that's not
objectively
what I meant.
terrible. That was a terrible joke.
That was.
I like Nightcrawler is probably really high on my list, though. I like the idea of being able to teleport just instantly. I think that's a
Yeah.
really cool power. Magneto, like you said, lots of nuance, and he's just crazy powerful. Like, I don't know that everybody realizes from the movies and much of the comic books, he is holding back like 95% of the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But so is Spider Man. Spider Man pulls his punches constantly.
Yeah, but that I think so like in the case of Spider-Man, that's kind of what makes him heroic
Yeah.
is that and like so I just watched like literally yesterday just kind of as like background uh wallpaper video wallpaper I watched the new Tom Holland Spider-Mans, which I love the original like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I know people have problems with especially number 3. I still really enjoy them. But I
Yeah.
think Tom Holland is the best
Oh,
Spider-Man.
yeah.
Um, and I think that's like that one of the final fight scene where he picks up the Green Goblin's glider
Oh,
and is
yeah.
about to, impale him, and then Tobey Maguire comes in and like gets in front of it. Like that's why that scene is so impactful
Oh,
is
yeah.
because like you can have total empathy because the Green Goblin first of all, spoilers, I guess, but if you haven't
He's
seen
been
this
out for
movie
like
by
40
now,
years.
yeah. Um, I think that's why it's so impactful is because you can absolutely empathize with why he would want revenge, but like he ultimately does make the right choice, the kind of choice that you would expect from a like lawful good superhero the way that he is.
Yeah. All right. Any other problems with my five?
Other than Aquaman is just kind of lame.
Aquaman is flippin' amazing. All right. If you don't like
He's
Aquaman, you need to read the new 52 Aquaman series, and that will convert you.
okay.
Because
Nah,
it's a
I
lot
don't
more
know.
gritty. It's a lot more plus Aquaman is one of the few people who can go toe to toe with Superman without kryptonite.
Yeah. So why is he strictly doing it just in the water?
He's he's not. Aquaman does between, right? Because he's half human, half Atlantean. So the idea is that he's kind of bridging the gap. He keeps the sea civilizations abated. He keeps the land civilizations abated.
Sure.
Keep the peace between the two, kind of a thing.
Right. But if he's essentially as powerful as Superman, let's spread the wealth a little bit.
All right,
I'm
what's your
just
list?
saying. So oh, that's a good question. I'm gonna put Spider-Man as my number 5. I'm gonna put. Ooh, I'm gonna put. So here's the thing: is I'm not really like I was never really a comic book guy. Uh, I really like the Marvel movies. I really like like the pop culture stuff. So I'm not gonna have too many deep. So I'm gonna put Spider-Man at my number 5. Um, I'm not. Uh, I was never really like super big on superheroes when I was a kid. It's more been kind of a like. Uh, I really like the Marvel movies, and I have a little bit of knowledge about superheroes beyond that. But most of it's going to be the well known superheroes.
Sure.
So Spider Man. Um, then I'm gonna say Wolverine.
Ooh,
Um,
yeah, that's a
I
good
think
choice.
Wolverine's great. Like his power is here. The reason why I like Wolverine is because like his power, like his actual superpower, is kind of secondary to like what he actually does.
Yeah,
Because like yeah, he has the claws, and that's 90% of what his superpower is. But his claws aren't his superpower. He has the claws because of his superpower, which is like rapid healing. Um, I'm also just kind of a sucker for the anti-hero. Um, so I'm gonna say, yeah. So Spider-Man, Wolverine. I think number three. I'm gonna go with Captain Underpants, which is a
no
superhero.
way. He is. Yeah.
He is a superhero.
Oh boy.
Captain Underpants is amazing.
Oh my
I forget what
heavens.
turns him into uh, a superhero, but he's uh, I loved those books when I was a kid.
I
Um,
read a couple of them and I was like, yeah, okay, I get it, but
yeah.
at the same time, keep going, keep going.
All right. And then I think probably oof. No, you know what? I'm gonna take Captain Underpants back. Uh, oh,
No, you can't. You just talked him over.
you're
You
right.
just
You're
talked him
right.
up. Come on, like you just talked him up like he's the best thing ever.
All
You gotta
right.
keep
All
him.
right.
Just commit to it. Yeah, take pride in your underpants.
Okay. I'm gonna say Thor is my number two. Uh, just because I think Thor is, I don't know, Thor's cool. I'm waiting for you to argue.
I like Thor.
All right. Well, uh, and then my all-time favorite superhero, uh, which I know I said I'm a Marvel guy, but my all-time favorite superhero is 100% Batman.
Ugh.
Batman's a great superhero.
Don't
First
get
of
me
all,
wrong. I love Batman. I love Batman. But
outside
number
of the comics,
one,
best media, the Batman cartoons, the movies, the costume. Also, like, okay, yeah, he's super rich, and that's kind of his superpower, but he's able to go toe to toe with every other superhero, and he's like for the same reason, like Iron Man. I love Iron Man. That's who I was going to replace
yeah,
Captain Underpants with. But I think I
Iron Man is
really
just
like,
happy Batman.
yeah, he's just more. He's Batman, but with slightly less tragedy in his backstory.
Sure.
Um, but I like that, like it's like he's a superhero, but really, his superpower is his intellect,
That's fair.
and
Yeah.
it's like it doesn't require you to actually be super. It just requires you to do the best with what you have, which in Iron Man and Batman's case is unlimited amounts of money.
Look, I have nothing against Batman. I agree. He's got probably the best media, the best video games, best cartoons, best movies. Um, my only problem is that he's everybody's favorite.
Yeah, because he is the best.
Is it because he's the best, or is it because
Yes.
he's the one that everybody knows the most?
Well, why do you think? So it's kind of a chicken and the egg question.
Yeah,
Is he the best because everyone knows him, or does everyone know him because he's objectively the best superhero?
I will say,
I don't see a movie out there called Aquaman versus Superman.
yeah, fair. I mean, like, I really do like Batman, and I'll be honest, the Robert Pattinson Batman is, I think. one of the best superhero movies ever made.
It's a great movie. Uh, I think one of not well, one of the worst Batmans. He did a great job. He did a great job. Certainly better than Val Kilmer. Certainly better than George Clooney.
You shut your mouth. George Clooney is a national treasure and never does anything poorly.
Have you seen? Have you seen uh, Batman? Is it Batman Returns?
I think
Or
it's
is that Batman and Robin?
It's Batman and Robin.
Yeah. Have you seen that recently?
It is a spectacular film.
It is. Okay, thank you, because I'm glad that now I'm not the one that needs to bring up the nipples. Why? Joel, if you're listening, why?
Yeah, because Joel Schumacher listens to our podcast.
You never know. But the question needs to be asked as many times as it takes. Why?
So who would you say is the best Batman actor?
I mean, I have a soft spot for Adam West, but...
You would take him over George Clooney?
Yes. George Clooney is... No, you know what? Val Kilmer was pretty bad. But what I will say is that George Clooney did the best with what he had. It's just what he had was a steaming pile of shit. That's not George's fault.
That's how we feel about the 13th Doctor in Doctor Who.
Is that Matt?
No, it's I can never remember her name.
Oh, okay. It's the
lady one.
The lady
She's
doctor.
Great. Jodie Whittaker. Jodie Whittaker was an amazing doctor. She did a great job with the acting. She played the part, I think, great. The writing was awful.
Isn't that kind of that show's thing, though?
No, are you kidding me? The writing with Matt Smith, the writing with Peter Capaldi. The difference is they changed writers after Peter Capaldi. They changed head writer to someone new, and he did 3 seasons, and nobody liked it for those 3 seasons. And he was like, "Okay, I'm out," and everyone was like, "Thank you." And then they brought back the original writer, who got it famous again with the revival. So he's back, and everyone's really enjoying it. Most of it.
Okay. I just want to say, I just want to point out.
Sure. Uh-huh.
One of the most famous Doctor Who episodes.
Okay.
I believe was might have been in David Tennant's first season.
Mm-hmm.
The villain was a stretched out skin person who had
times.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying, like, that's the pinnacle of what a lot of people would qualify or describe as the golden era of Doctor Who. Was a stretched out skin person who was the eventual evolution of the human race because of plastic surgery. And that's like the best that people point to.
Okay, no, it's not. It's not. That you clearly have not seen the show.
I am not a Whovian, but I know about that villain.
So it's not that she is the evolutionary end, it's that she is the last surviving member of the human race.
I would say that's the evolutionary end.
No, well,
that's just a different way to say the same thing.
The way you phrased it made it sound like the human race has progressed to the point where all she is all humans are stretched out skin, when really
she is the last surviving human, so that is actually all humans are at that point.
Yeah, but it's not like we have selectively bred ourselves to be that. It's she was super rich, realized she's the last human, and keeps herself alive. That okay.
And ends up a sheep being hung up like a hide that's being tanned.
Painting. Yeah. But I would say, no, that is nowhere near the best episodes. The best episodes,
I think it's one of the most,
in my opinion,
it's one of the most well-known episodes. I'm not saying it's the best
It's
episode.
one of the most well known because of how weird it is. You got to there's two sides of Doctor Who. There's the well there's the really action packed, heavy hitting side, and then there's the quirky, weird side.
Sure.
And just like with any science fiction, and Doctor Who does it leans really heavily into both. Like just as much as there is a skin lady, there is also a species of aliens that is a shadow government of the human race that you forget about anytime you see them. And they do this really
Yeah.
cool horror kind of thing where they'll just suddenly have tick marks on their hands because that's how many of them they see. That way they can remind themselves, oh, I'm seeing the silence. Um,
Yeah.
just as much as you have that, you have an alien species that starts a fad diet in the planet or on the planet Earth where you take a pill and the motto is a pound of fat walks away. What you don't know is it literally forms its
Walks
own
away.
uh, being and separates itself from you like mitosis and then walks away.
Yeah.
And at the end, they're all floating up to the mothership like these flesh marshmallows. It's weird. Okay,
Look,
it's weird.
I'm not talking shit about Doctor Who. What I'm
Yes, you
saying
are.
is that, well, okay. More what I meant though is that like it being kind of a bad show is part of the appeal.
That is true. Yeah, especially with like 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s Doctor Who, they definitely leaned into what can we do with the least amount of money
Yeah.
um, as like a challenge that you can tell. I would also say though, if you are going to try to get into Doctor Who, watch any episode with the Weeping Angels,
Okay.
watch Silence at the Library,
Okay.
and then I can't remember the name of it, but it's an episode where Peter Capaldi basically is reliving Groundhog's Day, sort of a thing, where he keeps living
Okay.
through the same thing over and over again, but he's the only person in the episode for the most part, and it's
Okay.
it's like a one man show, and it is amazing.
All right. You know what? I feel like I've given Doctor Who a couple shots. I tried to start, um, like when I first ever watched it, I watched the very first one with the first of like the revival,
Yeah, so
like
that's
in the
Christopher
early
Eccleston.
2000s. Yeah,
And the
I
problem with that
watched.
series, that season, the problem is he and the writer did not get along.
Yeah,
And so it's bad because you can tell he doesn't want to be there.
yeah. He was a bad doctor. Rose, what's her name?
Rose Tyler.
Rose Tyler. I thought was a great sidekick, which is why she carried on. I think to season 2, right?
Season 2 and
Which
3.
oh, season 2 and 3, right? I think. I think she. I think had she not, or like had she not been in that first season, then the entire reboot would have been just scrapped. Uh, but luckily they got David Tennant, who I think is just a fantastic actor.
Oh, yeah.
From what I know, from what little I know about Doctor Who, I think he was a great choice. And a reason I think the reason that most of like the people in our generation got into it, because that was, you know, around the time that I think people our age got into the show.
Yeah.
I've gone back and tried to watch some of like the really early episodes, and it's all it's never just
I can't do
it.
Classic Who. I'll be honest with you. My
Yeah,
wife is watching through it right now, and there's some times where I'm like, oh, that's actually really cool. But most of the time, I'm like, I can't do this.
I mean, look, we all know I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I do I say this on record? I don't love the original series.
Yeah, it's the original series of Star Trek. I haven't seen all of it, but it's like it's
It
got
can be
really
tough.
good storylines, but it's held back by effects and everything.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the first season of Next Generation,
Yeah, that
absolute
was hard for
dog
me to
shit.
get through. Yeah. I
I
slogged through it, and then I started season 2, and was like, oh, this is suddenly good.
yeah, except for Dr. Pulaski.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there are a few select episodes, but for me, like when I talk about my love of Star Trek, it starts at season 3 of the Next Generation, and it's only because I love. Uh, I mean, everything after that within the Next
Sure.
Generation. I grew up like right when I grew like when I started watching Star Trek, which was pretty much as soon as I could remember watching TV. It was the last few seasons of Next Generation,
Yeah.
but then like Voyager came out and I was just at the right age. Enterprise came out, I was just at the right age. Deep Space Nine is a bad show. Um, moving along. Uh,
Hot take.
uh,
I cannot read science fiction. I hate it. I
yeah.
can watch it on TV. I can watch science fiction movies all day long. I have only ever been able to make my way through and enjoy Dune.
Okay. I actually
Um,
just finished Dune, the
okay,
first book.
I love the
Uh,
first book. Dune Messiah, also really good, but it's less about the science fiction and more about like him as a character, which
yeah.
I think is
It's
why
more
I
of like
like
the
Dune.
political intrigue that I feel like Game of Thrones is
Yeah,
within
exactly.
like the fantasy genre.
But then you look at like Ready Player One and love the movie, could not make it through the first quarter of the book.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's just
We
a
got to talk about
science
this.
fiction issue. It's just I don't know why. It's just the style that most science fiction writers tend to write in. I'm just
But it's it's
it's a
really
slog.
good.
I I like the premise. I like the plot. I don't like the style of the writing.
It's really it's a really good book though.
And then if you're gonna also count like the Hunger Games books as science fiction, because
Eh.
it's kind of set in the future. It's got a lot of weird technology stuff into it. Can't I couldn't make it through the first 50 pages of Hunger Games.
Mm, yeah, I'm gonna take issue with that as well. But Ready Player One, I mean, that's a great book. It's a great movie too,
Oh, I
but
love the
also
movie.
the book and the
Fantastic movie.
movie completely different
Like
things.
most are.
Like not even the same plot. It's uh the only thing that the book and the movie have in common is that the main character's name is Wade Watts, and there is the existence of the Oasis.
Okay.
He doesn't live in Columbus in the book, like he does in the movie. He lives in Kansas City in the book.
Hmm.
Um, the like the things, the trials to get the keys to the gate, completely different in the books. Um, Literally every single thing is different in the book, and the book is
Interesting.
way better. But cinematically, they like one of the I think the test for the second key to the gate in the movie is like they have to go through a they have to basically like act their way through The Shining.
Yeah.
Never happens in the book. In the book, what it is he has to basically like put himself in the middle of the original Zork,
Okay.
which really like cinematically you couldn't really do with a
Yeah.
text-based game. Um, Super different. I mean, just totally two uh, two different pieces of media, but I think the book is better.
Yeah.
I think it's written really well.
I just and here's the thing. I'm looking at Goodreads. There's a list of the most famous or the best rated, or both, science fiction books. Dune is number one. Love
Okay.
Dune. Ender's Game. Can't do it. I've
But
tried.
he's Mormon.
Yeah, can't do it. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yes,
Obviously great.
love that book. Not
Yeah.
because of the science fiction, but because of the humor.
The book is great. I really like the movie. I understand why people have a problem with the movie, but again, it's a book that you can't possibly fit. Like you can't
Yeah.
make a movie and expect
Yeah.
the same thing as the book. The book is phenomenal though.
1984.
Okay. I actually really didn't like the book. I
Yeah,
think the movie
same.
is even
It's
worse.
it's like I get why it's important. I like the political philosophy that it tackles.
Yeah, but people focus too much on the political aspect of it. It's Romeo and Juliet, really.
Yeah.
It's
Um
it's it's nothing
yeah.
new. It's heavy-handed at best with the politics.
Fahrenheit 451. Also can't do it.
I
I've tried. I've tried.
I like the book.
Mm. Then we've got, let's see, Foundation by Isaac Asimov. Don't even know what that is. I do like number 7, Brave New World by Aldous Huxley.
I
That's a good
do like
book.
that one. Yeah.
Looking, just skipping down to the next one that I know. Slaughterhouse 5 is on here, but I don't really consider that science fiction. I don't know why that's on here as a
I
science fiction
so
novel.
from what I know that it is science fiction because I think it
At one point, he's on an alien planet in an alien zoo,
yeah,
and that's it.
it's so remember I think a few episodes ago I was telling you how I have a list of books that I haven't read, like classic books
Hmm.
that I want to read at least once in my life. I'm trying to get through them.
Yeah.
Slaughterhouse 5 is one of those.
Speaking of books, we're going to try and close this out soon. So let's, instead of doing favorite 5 books, we're going to do our one single favorite series of books. And I'll go first because I know you're got to narrow yours down. Um,
Yeah.
but my favorite book series is Mistborn by Brandon
Okay. I've
Sanderson.
I've heard of it.
Have you
I
read
have
those?
absolutely no familiarity with it.
Okay, so there's 2 series within the series. There's the original trilogy, and then
Okay.
there's a sequel quadrilogy. So the original trilogy are these big epic novels, like trying to be on par with Lord of the Rings in length and scope. And
Okay.
the
It's a
idea
tall
is it's a
order.
world. He kind of delivers towards the end. It's a
Does he?
strong.
Because I've heard of Lord of the Rings.
Fair.
Sorry, that was a cheap
Um,
shot.
no, it's a fair shot. I would say, having read them both, I would compare them. Lord of the Rings is obviously the granddaddy of all fantasy, but
Yeah.
Brandon Sanderson is the best-selling fantasy author for a reason. Um,
Is
and
he?
it's not just because he cranks out. Yeah, he is, and it's not just
That
that he's
can't be
cranking out
true.
books. Best-selling fantasy.
What about
Author.
Pierce? I forget what his name. Pierce something.
Okay, well, as of right now, if you're looking at like the lists for right now, he is the number one.
Okay.
Um, However, most copies of books is J.K. Rowling.
Mm, I actually did.
Anyway,
I
so
weirdly I started re-listening to the Stephen Fry narrated uh,
ooh,
Harry
interesting.
Potter books again today.
Anyway, so Brandon Sanderson, it's this series where it's kind of like Lord of the Rings world, but with Harry Potter and Star Wars mixed in. Um,
Okay.
so it's this fantasy world where there's humans and a couple other like kind of subspecies, and the idea is that there are some people who have special powers, and they activate these powers by swallowing little bits of metal and burning them inside of them to release this power. And most people can only
Okay.
do one power, and that can range from pushing or pulling on metal to um, what's the word, blocking out people sensing that powers are going on, to influencing emotions. Like there's a lot of things that a lot of different powers involved,
Okay.
and some people can do all of them, and those people are
Okay.
called Mistborn, which is where the title of the series comes from. And it's set on the scope of this
So
thousand year
it's
old
like
evil.
Avatar. It's like
Kinda.
the
But it,
reason why Aang is special is because he can do airbending, waterbending, firebending, earthbending.
yeah, except there's a lot of these people, at least in the first series. They've kind of bred out by the second series. But it follows this girl who is she gets caught up in a political scheme to rob the 1,000-year-old evil emperor, and it turns into a heist. It starts out as a heist and turns into a political intrigue, bringing down the kingdom and reshaping it. Political revolution, and it's
Okay.
really cool. And then the second book is, okay, we've gotten the revolution. How do we keep it? And the third book is, oh crap, the bad guy from the first book was actually holding back the real bad guy, and now the entire world is collapsing.
Okay.
And so it's got some cool stuff. The
That actually
second
sounds pretty good.
series, it's really good. The second series, the books are half the length. The first series, the
Okay.
books are all 700 to 800 pages. The second series, they're 350 to 4.
Okay.
And it's set in like the Old West. So it's the same world, but now they're just starting to get electricity. They're just starting to get, cars by the end of the series. They
Okay.
have revolvers, and people can put up like, their shields of power to, have bullets swerve around them and stuff. It's really cool.
Right.
It's super cool. And you don't have to
I
have
might
read the
actually.
first series.
I'm gonna give that a
Yeah.
shot.
You don't have to have read the first series to understand the second, but there's going to be references to people and some characters who pop up who you'll be like, who is that? Why do I need to care about them? And it's because they're from the first series.
Okay.
However, however, that's like 4, maybe 5% of the book. I like the second series better.
Okay.
The
Wait.
first
So
series is
is
good.
Mistborn just the second series?
So the original Mistborn trilogy is called Mistborn.
Okay.
The second one is called Mistborn Series 2. The first book
Okay.
is,
That seems appropriate.
yeah, so the first book of the first series is The Final Empire. And then wait, is it The Final Empire? Am I saying that correctly? I've only read these books once. Yeah, it's The Final Empire. And then the first book of the second series is called The Alloy of Law. And I think that is one of my favorite books ever. The Alloy of Law. It's great.
Okay.
It's got great characters, great plot. It's awesome from start to finish. I had trouble putting them down.
All right. Look, as I'm sitting here trying to think of what series I'm going to pick, each distinct series that I'm going through has elements of what you just described. So who knows? That might be my new favorite one.
Yeah, give it a shot, man.
Yeah. Uh,
All right, what's yours?
um, I'm gonna have to take the cop out. It's got to be Lord of the Rings. It
It's
has
hard
to be.
for me
It
to
has to
disagree with
be.
you when I'm
It
listening
has
to
to
them right
be.
now. Yeah. Yeah, the audiobooks with Andy Serkis, by the way, are amazing.
So okay, so I think you and I have talked about this. So I work entirely by myself 90% of the time.
Hmm.
Uh, so I have to do something to like keep myself sane in lieu of human contact. So what I do is I listen to podcasts and I listen to audiobooks. I think my record
Yep.
for last year, which I think is when I listened to. Actually, no, I think 2021 was probably my record year. And I know in 2021 I listened to like 83 different audiobooks
Wow.
uh, which is a lot. Um,
Jeez, that is a lot.
yeah, and that's not even including the ones that I re-listened to, which I know for a fact that year I listened to the Harry Potter series twice, and I listened to Lord of the
Okay.
Rings twice, and each
Jesus.
Lord of the Rings book is over 20 hours long, just
Oh
one
yeah.
single book. But when I've listened to the Lord of the Rings series, probably I'd say this is my sixth time listening to them. But I've only ever listened to the original Rob Inglis recordings, because when I bought them, it was like a month before Andy Serkis had released his
Oh.
first one. So this time around, I've actually bought the Andy Serkis versions, and I'm listening to him narrate them. And I mean, I have a soft spot for the original Rob Inglis ones,
Yeah.
but
No hate to Rob
Andy
Inglis. I've
Serkis
heard.
is phenomenal.
Oh yeah. No hate to Rob Inglis. I've heard some of his in there and some of his other things that he's narrated, but Andy Serkis is superior, at least with these ones.
Yeah. Especially if like your introduction to Lord of the Rings was the movies. His
Oh
is
yeah.
more. I here's the thing: is I think Rob Inglis's narration is closer to maybe like what Tolkien uh, envisioned himself. Uh, Andy
Yeah.
Serkis's narration is closer, I think, to how people who were introduced to the franchise through the movies, how they envision the characters. So, like when he's
Yes.
doing, Pippin, he's doing a Glaswegian Scottish accent.
Yeah,
When
he's and
he's
it's not just
doing,
that, but he's trying to do an impression of the guy who plays Pippin. Like you can tell he's changing
well,
his
yeah,
voice to try and match it. He's
no, that's
trying
what
to
I'm
do
saying is
Ian
like
McKellen when
like
he
Billy
does
Boyd
Gandalf.
has
Yeah.
a Glaswegian Scottish
Yes.
accent,
Billy
and so
Boyd.
he's doing an impression of he's not really doing an impression of Billy Boyd. He's taking that same accent. When he does Mary, Dominic Monaghan, still Scottish, I think, or at least Northern. I actually don't know where Dominic Monaghan is from, but he's not doing an impression of Dominic Monaghan. He's doing
Right.
an accent of somebody from the same place. Um, and then when you get to the parts of Gollum, I mean, that's what everyone thinks of when they think of Gollum is Andy Serkis's portrayal of Gollum. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's a little
Oh
bit of a
man,
cop
they
out,
are
but
great books.
they're so good.
They are so good.
Absolutely fantastic.
My issue with the Lord of the Rings is less about the Lord of the Rings and more about Tolkien. In that he goes on and on and on and on about the tiniest little details.
Oh,
And
you
then
want
he
to
will
talk about the
also
Council of
say, and
Elrond
then
in the book?
17 years later, right. Well,
Let's
no, not just
let's
not even the Council of Elrond. The fact that he spends
Okay, but
10
can we
pages
address the
describing
Council
how
of
green
Elrond for a second?
Rivendell is.
The
Sure.
Council of
Yes.
Elrond is like a third of the book, and it takes place in about the span of 15 minutes.
Right.
But it's
Right.
like
Yeah.
he goes through the whole like saga of Beren and Luthien. It's like he inserted essentially the Silmarillion,
Yeah.
and we're really letting our nerd flags fly here. But it's like he takes like the first half of the Silmarillion, inserts it into this book where other things are happening, and they virtually have no effect on the story overall. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just hate how much he does that because he'll walk in. I remember looking at the first book when I read the physical copy the first time. I was like, okay, they're in Rivendell. And then 8 pages later, I'm like, are we still in Rivendell? We haven't even gotten into the city yet. This is all trees.
Yeah. He's just describing the valley of Imladris.
And then there's also parts where, for me, I like, as someone who picks up on where people are going with their conversation a lot of the time very quickly, it's it's easy for me to keep up in conversation, but it's hard for me to keep up when people are being very long-winded. And
Yeah.
um, so when he's going on about the same thing over and over again, and he's already covered the part that you need to know, and the rest is just nice to know, I'm sitting there like, just get to the point. Get back to Gandalf talking about the ring. I don't need
Yeah.
to know about Elrond's third cousins, twice removed, boyfriends, nephews, uncles, nieces,
Former
sisters,
roommate.
friends, former roommate.
Okay, wait. So I know that we said that we were gonna end. Can I just learn something about Spaceballs? So if you follow that train where Lord Dark,
Lord
was it
Dark
Lord
Helmet,
Dark
Big Dark Helmet.
Dark Helmet uh says
Yeah.
like, I'm your father's brother's nephew's uncle's son's former roommate. Like, if you follow that all the way through, um what he's saying is that he is what's the main character, is it Lone
Oh gosh,
Star?
it's been so ever. Yeah, Lone Star.
Lone Star. What he's saying is that he's Lone Star's former roommate.
Hold on.
It like
Yeah, let me look. Hold on.
it's
Okay.
like
Fathers, brothers,
I don't remember
nephews,
exactly what it is, but it's like fathers,
cousins,
brothers. Let
former
me look it up
roommate.
real quick.
Yeah, that could be his former roommate. Yeah, because I'm looking at it right
Yeah.
now. It's I am your
Uh,
father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate. So it depends on who the brother is and how many brothers there are. Because it could be
right, but
I'm your
there's a
cousin's
version of
former
that where
roommate. Or it's I am
he's
your
saying
former
I'm your
roommate.
former roommate.
Yeah.
Anyway, God, I love Mel Brooks. Um,
Oh man, we can end on that. That can be the fun fact.
sure, yeah, that's our fun fact. Anyway, well, wait, hold on.
No, that's
Uh,
not the fun fact. Okay.
no, I still want to talk about Lord of the Rings for a second.
Okay. Real
The
quick.
whole Tom
I'm
Bombadil thing,
tired. Oh my
like,
gosh, Tom Bombadil is one of the greatest characters ever.
right,
I
but
love him.
completely unnecessary to the story. We never get any
Yeah.
clarification on it. So why is he in there?
Right. Yeah. Yep. I before I read the books, I had friends who were like super fans of the books, and they said Tom Bombadil's not even in the movies, but that's okay
Because he couldn't.
because he
There's no
doesn't need
possible
to
way to
be.
put him in there.
I think you could put him in there. It's just going to take
No.
up a lot of screen time that you don't need to take up. Like if they ever remake it as a mini series, Tom Bombadil totally could be in it. He could totally be just the highlight of one episode of the first season of Fellowship, and that would be fine.
Not
But
if they change. Not unless they change it. Change Tom Bombadil significantly. He's one of the only characters whose appearance is like very detailed in its description. He's wearing a blue coat. He's wearing like yellow boots.
yeah,
Um, he sings entirely in like song, or he speaks entirely in song, and none of it really makes sense. And you never like. There's all these cryptic things like he's been here since or like since before the trees came to Middle
yeah,
Earth. And the ring has no power on him. Like, he's clearly some kind of divine being, but like, if you picture him, it's basically like if you put Paddington Bear smack dab in the middle of like one of the greatest works of high fantasy. Um, and it's Like that's
That's
so
so great. That's totally
disjointed.
accurate.
I mean, look, like seriously, look up a picture of Paddington Bear. He's wearing a blue coat and yellow boots. Uh,
Here's the
but
thing though.
also
I,
like
I understand why
he has
Tolkien
no
put him in.
significance on the. Yeah, because Tolkien wasn't the inspiration for, or like the reason why he wrote the books was he was a linguist, and the books are not. He didn't invent the languages like the Elven language and the Khazad language of the dwarves. He didn't invent those for the books. He invented the books to give a history to these languages that he invented.
Yeah,
So like it gives it flavor. It makes it feel more real. But like what Peter Jackson said was, there's absolutely no way that we could have like put Tom Bombadil into the movie without doing it incorrectly. So we just erased him, which I kind of agree with.
well, what the reason that he's also in the book is he's meant to portray someone who is in a world completely at war, a war that is torn apart and rampage and is willfully blissful, not blissful, blissfully ignorant, willfully blissfully ignorant of the world
Okay. Yeah.
outside. Because he's meant to contrast these hobbits and humans and wizards who are constantly anxious about what's going to happen to the world around them. And he
Right.
is, who cares? It doesn't matter. I'm going to still be here,
Actually,
so I don't care.
that's a really good point because the hobbits are also ignorant, but unwillingly,
But they get
and
involved.
yet they're willing to do like whatever it takes to do it. Tom
Right.
Bombadil is all knowing, presumably, uh,
He kind of hints at it.
and
Yeah.
and unwilling to do anything to change it.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, but he's completely unaffected by the ring. He puts it on. He doesn't go invisible. He puts it on.
Yeah.
He's just takes it off and puts it on and on off again, and then laughs about it. And
He's
and
also
Gandalf
the
talks
only
about
character
how
in the book who willingly gives it up.
correct. Oh yeah,
Oh
yes, he's
wait,
the only
other than
character in the book who
Sam.
willing.
Sam is the only other character in
That's
the
true.
Tower of
That's
Cirith
right.
Ungol. Which is
But
why Sam is the
he.
strongest character in the book.
Oh yeah, 100%. But he's meant to show a contrast to the world outside, where he's got his
Sure.
own little paradise that he works really hard to keep unaffected. And there's pros and cons to that. Obviously he's got his own little paradise that is unaffected. He's not going to be affected by the outside world, but at the same time he's playing a pacifist who could contribute but doesn't. And
Yeah.
I've seen some
He's
people argue that that's a
the
critique.
moralistic equivalent of the people who are going to be voting for Robert Kennedy Jr.
I don't know about that. I would say more like a critique of places like Switzerland or places like, before pre-entry into the war United States, where it's very much like, oh, it's their problem. It's their problem. It's their problem. We're not involved. We're not involved. But you have the power to stop and affect this. Why aren't you? Kind of a thing. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's exactly what Tolkien intended, but a lot of people, a lot of papers or articles I've read have compared him to that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's fair, which I think is a fitting place for us to end, because we did eventually bring it back to politics. Um, so, with that being said, first of all, thank you to everyone who's listening, just to the show in general so far. Um, I personally hope that you guys have enjoyed these last couple episodes. We definitely are going to be getting back to politics in our next episode.
Yeah.
And with that, I guess also thank you to Halcyon Club for providing our intro and outro music. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. I think we're gonna be getting a website soon. We gotta talk about that. But
I don't know.
please
Yeah, you're the one who's doing that.
like, subscribe, comment. Well, yeah. Um, I guess, and with that, Cameron, do you have a fun fact for us?
Yes, I do have a fun fact for us. The Spice Girls were originally a band named Touch.
Really?